GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is April Hunter, and you are listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vega.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rock star Robbie Vegas. Sparkling water. And I'm here with my co-host, as always.
Coffee. What's up, y'all? It's Chaz. Sorry, I had to swallow there.
Wow. We're going to just skip right past that. So, today we are doing our top 5 tag teams and top 5 each, not 5 together. And this is not a draft. So, we're actually just going to pick our personal favorite 5 tag teams of all time. And I'm curious to see if we have any crossover.
I have a prediction that in total we have 8 tag teams. I think we have 2 crossover.
All right, I guess we will see what those could be. And spoiler alert, if you're hoping to hear us give you the Meltzer special, it's not happening. I don't think either of us chose the Young Bucks.
Well, this is the top 5 most overrated tag teams, right?
No, they would have been number 1.
Oh, okay. And number 1 and number 2, just for fuck's sakes.
Listen, people, again, we're not Young Bucks haters. We're just not jumping on your marquee bandwagon.
We're just honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't say they suck. They're just overrated.
Yeah, they didn't make my my top 5, that's all.
Right,
so,
exactly. How
do you want to do this? Who wants to start here?
Well, go for it. You take it off.
All right, so I think, honestly... So first of all, we haven't really done a wrestling discussion episode in a while. I think most of my wrestling episodes have been interviews and such, so this is going to be fun, but I think that my list might actually surprise you. I think we might have less crossover.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I got 2 crossovers in my mind. So, which is good, because that's kind of where we usually are.
Yeah.
I feel like we usually are on the same page 20% of the time.
Yeah, right. So, I'm going with a tag team that's probably going to be the first surprise for you, and this has been a team many times, but the specific era that I'm thinking of is going to be the new generation leading into the Attitude Era with the tag team of Owen Hart and the British Bulldog when they were in Camp Cornette.
Hell of a good choice. Hell yeah, that's a good choice. I'm jealous I didn't think of that.
Oh man, I probably growing up, I remember them the most prominent tag team when I was like younger, feuds with the Smoking Guns and the Godwins, and I just really loved Owen and Bulldog, even getting into their stuff with Vader when they faced Yokozuna, Jake the Snake, and Ahmed Johnson at WrestleMania 12. Just, they were so good. It was such a well-oiled machine, and I feel like that's a tag team that flies under the radar today, and enough people don't talk about them.
Well, I think they were the tag team of that generation. Like, because obviously they were the heels, but if you look at, like, all of the face tag teams, which maybe they made some of our lists, probably not, though. The face tag teams were kind of corny. The Smoking Guns, the Godwins, friend of the show, no offense. But they were always kind of corny, and, like, Owen and the Bulldog were always, like, the guys they used to try to make the baby faces.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously they were tag team champions. And then they had the feud over the European title while they were still a tag team, which was pretty cool. And again, we see them team up later on when Brett brings the Hart Foundation together and you get the 5-piece. But I really enjoyed their initial run before the Hart Foundation a lot.
So you like Owen and the Bulldog more than Owen's first tag team of High Energy?
Yes, I do.
You're just a Coco Beware hater.
Why, is that your number 5?
No, that's not my number 5. But you know that, the fans, the audience knows, or they should know, that we are pretty big Owen Hart marks here on this podcast. We did that dedication to him now about 2 years ago.
Yes.
So he's been gone for 22 years, and it's always good to give Owen Hart some love and not exploit him like certain wrestling companies, but we'll leave that to where it is.
Well, let's take it from my number 5 to your number 5 then, because I can't say enough good things about Owen and Bulldog, but I feel like I'd just be repeating myself over and over again, talking about how great they were individually and as a team.
Okay, well, so this one is for some of our more marquee crowd. Usually I'm the pro WWE guy, but we're going not WWE for this one.
Oh, wow.
Never WWE WWE for this one to my knowledge, but I could be wrong. Now, this is a tag team that I remember when I seen them in person, they, like, came by, they, like, walked by me, and I didn't, like, want to slap them up because I was kind of scared. And I'm talking about I'm in my 30s at this point because these guys are so legit and just, they seem real and, like, fucking crazy, and that would be the Briscoes.
I knew you were going there. Wasn't I with you that day?
You might have been. They're just so good and they're believable, and I just think, like, right now, okay, I'm going to compare them to another tag team, and this tag team didn't make my list. I just took the Briscoes ahead because this other tag team just missed it, but I think the best tag teams in the world right now are the Briscoes and the Usos.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree with that.
And I would love to see these two go at it. But, like, also I wonder if any of that has to do with, you know, the teams being actual brothers, too. Because a lot of people say the Young Bucks are the greatest, too. So those are 3 actual brother tag teams. So I wonder if that has something to do with... It is a chemistry thing, but it's a believability thing. But here's the thing. I think I would lose... Here's how I rank the 3. I think if I got in a fight with the the Briscoes, one of them at a time, I think I would get my ass kicked. I think if I got into a fight with the Usos one at a time, maybe I'd get my ass kicked. I think if I got in a fight with the Young Bucks one at a time, I'd win both.
So, you know, I get what you're going with that, though, because the believability of how crazy the Briscoes come off doesn't seem gimmicky at all. It seems just how they are. Like, they just wake up that way and live their lives that way. Right,
because they're so believable. Like, yeah, they're kind of big. They're bigger than you think when you see them in person, but they're not huge.
Yeah. Well, as is the case with most wrestlers.
Yeah, they're just, like, big dudes, you know, but, like, they just legit seem crazy. Like... Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, they legit seem like they would hurt me or they would, like, tear my eyes out or something. And, I mean, obviously they have all the accolades and they have the chemistry. And, like, I was thinking to myself, like, I would love to see them in WWE, but then somebody brought up a point to me that, like, Vince would ruin them. And then I started thinking about it, and it kind of seems like he might, because all of a sudden, I bet you if they were in WWE, there's a good chance they come out with, like, straw hats and stupid shit like that.
I mean, I could see it. I really can. But that's a good pick, too, because, you know, when I was, you know, going through all the ones that I wanted to put on my list, and there was a lot of them, I actually forgot about the Briscoes, which is a shame because they really are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And I guess I just didn't even think to go Ring of Honor.
Right. And, like, I have only had, like, a 5-year Ring of Honor phase, but these guys, they made such an impression on me in that time. Like, they can put on a great match, say, with the Young Bucks, or they could put on a great match with Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham, or they could put on a great match with, like, the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And those are all different kinds of wrestlers.
I honestly would love to see a match between them and the Usos. But, you know, in the same token, and everybody who stayed listening after we kind of teased them about the Young Bucks, even throw the Young Bucks in there and make it a triple threat, and I think that would be a hell of a tag team match.
It would be. And like I said, I know we shit on the Young Bucks, but, like, it's not like they're talentless or anything like that.
No, I just, I
just think the Briscoes are better. I don't know. They're just more enthralling to me. It's just, I like to watch them, and they bring it, they make it look hard. I've never heard of them, like, hurting people.
They're definitely more athletic than people give them credit for. I think that they just, you know, you see them as their gimmick so much that you forget how good they actually are, if that makes sense.
For sure, because you're just so, you kind of look at them, they don't look big, they don't look built, they don't look athletic, but they're just super good, and they are built, and they are athletic. Mm-hmm. And you know what the problem is, too? No offense to these guys, I hope they don't kick my ass. They're ugly dudes.
So people ignore them?
It's the truth. Yeah, they're ugly dudes. It's not like they're never going to be the number one tag team in the world because they're ugly dudes. I mean, the number one tag team in the world, I mean, I guess is the Young Bucks, and they're not ugly dudes, right? So, like, that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, you're right. It's about the appeal. It's about the look. I totally agree. I guess that brings me to my number 4. So here's one that I'm going to ask you if you thought of them, if they even crossed your mind, but my number 4 is going to be 2 dudes with attitudes, Shawn and Diesel.
It did.
Yeah? Crossed your mind?
Yeah, it did. To me, I feel they're a great team. They're fun. I'm not surprised they're on your list. I knew Shawn would make it at least once. I'm wondering if Shawn's going to make it twice. I The only thing with them that like was hard for me to hang on to is their kind of short run, but at the same time, just because it's short doesn't mean it's not impactful.
I agree. I mean, they were tag team champions, and I think that it just added to their long story that they had with, you know, Shawn bringing Diesel in as the bodyguard, Diesel getting to the top first. You know, they had the tag team title run together, and then you see them clash on and off and side with each other on and off for the rest of Diesel's time in the WWE, and they were just a fun team to watch, and it was cool. It was almost like a misfit team because they're so different, but they're so similar at the same time. And I always like, you know, watching them team up. And I don't know, for nostalgia purposes, I just really love them.
It is it's always a fun thing when you got the big guy, little guy, big brother, little brother kind of thing. And like you can't, you know, obviously, especially that time, you can't get better than Shawn Michaels. And like, even though Diesel was like, obviously not as good as a performer as Shawn Michaels, he just had it.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a natural charisma about him where when he walked into the room or to the arena or stepped into the ring, you were just like, wow. And he didn't even have to do anything. The second he stepped over that top rope, you were like, oh my God, this guy's huge. And it was just pretty amazing, you know, that he had that effect before he even threw the first punch or locked up or slammed anyone, you know?
And they had the classic high five, and I always will remember them for that, the super high five, the jumping high five.
Yep.
It's just little things like that. Like, that is super, like, iconic to me. And, like, they were tag champs, right? They did have it for a little bit.
Yes, they did.
So, I mean, in that era, Shawn was the man. I mean, that was him making his way up.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, a year from then, he's going to be champ, right? Just about.
And I'm not saying they were the most, you know, super creative, awesome, you know, athletic tag team in history, but they were fun and they got over. And I think that just stands out because a lot of tag teams don't get over and they're not fun to watch.
Well, that's, I guess that is that's a debate for another time. They were definitely, like, they weren't, I think, meant to last. Meaning, like, you knew Shawn was going to break away and be champ, but then actually Kevin was first.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely.
It was, they both made, or was Kevin the champ with them? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he was.
He was the champ with them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's pretty sweet. So
I'm pretty sure it was an overlap, or maybe it was the Intercontinental title. But there was some kind of overlap where he was a singles champion when they were tag team champions. I can't remember which title it was.
I forget he was Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
Kevin won the championship in, like, what, late 94?
Yes. I'm looking it up right now.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Kev won the title in late 94, so depending on when they were tag champs, he was probably the champ, because he lost it in, like, early 96, I think, right? To Brett, or late 95? So they were probably champ.
So they actually were tag team champions twice, and Shawn Michaels was the Intercontinental Champion. Diesel was the heavyweight champion, so they controlled all titles at the same time.
Oh, okay. So that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that. I just had that feeling. So that's dominance right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that alone makes them worthy of anybody's list. But, you know, when I say that tag teams struggle to, like, get over, or a lot of tag teams aren't as fun to watch, tag team wrestling is hard. There's a science to it. And if you don't get it down, it's tough. It really is. And I was in a tag team for a long time, and it's a hard thing to wrap around. So if you succeed at it, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I know you're not anymore, but we'll leave that where it is for next time. Calling you out.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about tag teams. And this could fall into the latter category, but it worked, obviously, but only to an extent. Like, there is a difference between tag teams and putting two guys together.
Yes. 100%.
Right? And that kind of feels like that was putting two guys together, but it did work. But it also worked because it's two Hall of Fame talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, kind of like you said, sometimes you have those, like, were meant to be, like, one-offs. Prime example, Shawn Michaels and Triple H starting DX. That was just, like, they got thrown together because of a feud with Undertaker and Mankind, and boom, we got a team, you know?
Well, even current day, like, just kind of thrown together with RK Bro, but that shit's working.
I even feel like...
RK Bro's super over right now, and it's just kind of threw two dudes together.
Agreed. I kind of feel the same way about Shinsuke and Rick Boogs. It was just like, these guys are floating around, not doing anything. Let's throw them together, and people like them.
Boogs was great. I hope he gets well soon, because that guy, I think, had a future in front of him.
100%. I hope he comes back stronger than ever.
You know what tag team I want to see of brothers tag teams? I want to see Ezekiel and Elias tag team up.
I think they would be unstoppable, and that's why it hasn't happened yet, because they don't have anybody who can beat them.
Oh, such a force to reckon with. I hope we get that someday. Let's keep it in our prayers, y'all. But speaking of brother tag teams, are you ready for my next pick here?
I am.
Name it.
The Hearty Bowlers.
The Hearty Boys. I've had that queued up, but I realized it wasn't paused, so that's why I was halfway through.
Ah, gotcha. I see. First of all, great pick.
This was great pick, of course. Like I was debating between that whole era there of Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys, blah blah blah. You know, so I was trying to like pick who's my favorite. I was looking at those three teams in a vacuum for this pick. So spoiler alert, those other two teams aren't on my list. But I was looking at those three teams, and who I feel was the most impactful as a team to me is the Hardy Boys. They're still going strong today on AEW Dark, apparently, because they can't make TV. But when they were even back over in WWE, they were still in the picture always. They had that big return about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was huge. Shocked everybody.
Shocked everybody. And those were the only two guys. And this is throwing some more shade, but I guess it's intentional, but it's just the truth. They're the only two people in the last decade that brought any notoriety to Impact.
Yeah, I agree with that, honestly. When Jeff went to TNA, that was like a huge move. And he was really iconic. And I think it took Matt a little longer to get there, but he also became just as iconic as Jeff. And he's had a lot of good singles runs, but when they're together, oh my God.
Right, when they broke, when they went broken like 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was now. Christ, probably 7, 8 years ago now.
Probably.
I wasn't like as big into. I was just kind of watching WWE, and even at that point, just watching WWE lightly. But like, it was the first time I even heard of the name Impact or TNA in years, just hearing about Matt and Jeff Hardy and what they were doing.
For sure.
And that's just somebody on the outside. So they have been around such a long time. They're in their, fourth decade of wrestling?
Yeah.
Fourth decade of wrestling. Mm-hmm. And they're still going strong. They look great. They still wrestle great. I know at one hand, they're also the team that kind of ushered in the insanity of professional wrestling today. Mm-hmm. With, for sure. The high spots. So is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? But it felt more special with them because there wasn't 500 every match.
I agree. And there wasn't a million other teams doing it. Even through the TLC matches with Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys, the Hardys were always the more death-defying team. It wasn't like all three teams were doing the giant spots that Jeff was doing. And, I think it's a great pick, and the Hardy Boys are absolutely incredible and super influential to this day, and even on me when I was growing up.
Yeah, well, you look like Jeff Hardy for a while, purposely. Not to call you out, but to call you out.
I did. I had purple streaks in my hair and design shaved into my face, and I loved it.
But that's because they were such an influential on you. And I think the Hardy Boys as a team is bigger and better than either one individually.
I agree now, but for a minute there, I think Jeff was the bigger of the two, especially when he first won the heavyweight title at Armageddon in Buffalo. I think he was at a peak there that was bigger than the Hardy Boys were at one point.
I just think it feels that way because he was on top, but I just don't think I don't think in 10 years or whatever Jeff Hardy is going to go into the Hall of Fame. I think the Hardy Boys are going into the Hall of Fame.
I think so too, but I also think that he will get a singles induction because he did do so much, because he's literally held every single championship there was to hold as a singles wrestler as well.
Well, more on that later. Check back in 10 years, y'all.
We're going to pull this up and be like, who was right? So I guess that brings me to my number 3. And we briefly talked about this tag team already. Any guesses?
Well, I would say not the Young Bucks, so I'm going to go with Edge and Christian.
The Usos.
The Usos, okay.
Yes, the Usos are on my list. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Their psychology is off the charts. They could have an amazing 5-star match with anyone. Love their feud with the New Day. That could spark back up at any time, and I'll be excited. And I really like what they're doing right now with Roman. And they're just super talented guys. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about the Briscoes. They're twin brothers, and growing up together, they just have a natural chemistry, and they've really have been on point since day one, no pun intended. And I don't know, I really love them. I really do. I think that they're one of the best tag teams of all time. And, obviously I think that because they're on my list, but I would be hard-pressed to question people who didn't put them on their list. Chaz.
Right, including me, they would have been at 6. How can you go wrong with that pick? That's another thing you forgot to mention is their second generation.
Yes. And their whole family is incredible.
Right. They're from the family, right? So it's like they're bound to be good.
Yeah, they were just born to wrestle. Like, this business is for that family. And it's insane how great they all are. And I'm a huge supporter of the Usos. And for as much as everybody hypes them up, they're still just a little bit underrated when people talk about the greatest tag teams of all time.
Well, they totally are. They're suffering maybe, but they're not. I was going to say they're suffering from, like, exhaustion because they've been around for so long, but, like, they're not suffering from exhaustion because they're as fresh as ever. I think this, do you call it a heel run? I think
absolutely.
This heel run they're on is incredible. And this heel run's been almost 5 years, but ever since they dropped the whole tribal garb and the colorful pants and all that stuff, they're just 10,000 times better and more believable.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I like their look. I like their attitude. And, the cool thing about them is their work doesn't really change much by heel or face. They just do what they do, and I kind of think that's cool. Like, yeah, they might do some cheap cheating type shit here and there, but for the most part, they're the Usos all the time. And if you can get away with working heel or face just based on how you swing your attitude, I think that's really cool.
They have a very good and solid sense of humor that comes through once in the greatest while. But the most you've seen it, or at least the most I've seen it, is when they had a house show here in Buffalo and there was nobody friggin' there. There was like 1,000 people in the arena. It was just a small house show in the winter. Uh-huh. They were just so funny, that show with the New Day. They were wrestling the New Day and they were just getting in the crowd's face and just being so stupid. And like, they were like responding to the crowd. When the crowd would talk shit, they would fire something back. It was just... They were like the highlight of that show I went to. So I actually gained a little more respect from them then too, but I always loved them. They would have always been just outside my list. But honestly, I could have swapped them out with the Hardys, but I think the Hardys are just more influential. That's all.
All right. Well, tell me who your number 3 is, and let's see who you did put in your list.
Name it.
Why do I know this? And I can't think of the tag team name. Hang on.
Oh, I paused it. Okay, back on.
Oh, why am I drawing a blank right now? All right, who is it?
I'll give you one word, and this will help you win it.
All right.
That one word.
Oh, it's the APA, isn't it?
I was going to say that one word is damn.
I was going to say, I've heard this entrance music a million times. Why am I blanking out? But yes, the APA. That's a good pick.
I love them. They were my draft pick of when we did the, the Champions draft we did.
Yes.
They were my draft pick because there's just something, again, this kind of goes back, this goes back to kind of what I was saying about them boys, but like in an even more aspect, because you want to talk about believable?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like there's 0% chance that I would win in a fight between either of those guys. There's a 0% chance that me and you would win in a fight against either of those guys.
I agree. And even as a kid, like, you knew when they came out, no matter who they were facing, you were like, oh my God, they're going to destroy whoever. And usually they did.
They are so believable, but they've got it all. If you think about the range they were as wrestlers and as performers, like, we think of them as they're just kind of wearing jeans, tough guy, but they were also the gothic guys for a while.
Yeah.
And, it's just, and then how JBL transformed himself into like the money guy, and like Farouk kind of just stayed the same, but I mean, he was a little different, like in the Nation, a completely different like heel.
Oh yeah.
Like, just great performers, big, brutal, believable, the Triple B there, and just, they were great at what they did, and they put on great matches, and it just, that clothesline from hell, I mean, Farouk's Dominator is still a move I use in the video games.
Right. I forgot about that, yeah.
It's such a cool presentation, but like, these big, brutal, beefy boys were so goddamn funny.
They really were. When they started doing that whole Acolyte Protection Agency Oh my God, that was some of the best stuff.
It was almost, if that was any other era, that would have been the highlight of the show. But that ended up being the third highlight because that was like Rock and Austin era.
Yes. Yep.
So they were, and DX era. So they were kind of like buried underneath all that.
Yeah, and they still managed to be a prominent role, and I think that says a lot about them as performers and as a team. And throw back to your last pick, the Hardy Boys actually beat the APA for their first tag team championship.
Yeah, and they helped get the young dudes over with that. And that was like, you got to remember, like, Farouk's pretty old at that point. JBL's a little younger than Farouk, but like Farouk's been in the business probably 15 years at that point.
Yeah, probably, because what was that, like mid to late 90s? It was like 97, 98, right?
When the Hardy Boys won the titles, probably like 98, 99, somewhere around there, so close to 2000, right?
Yeah.
So Farouk's probably pushing 40, and 40 then isn't not like 40 now.
No, 40 now is AJ Styles. 40 then was...
he's like 43. Think about this, Randy Orton just turned 42.
Right. So totally different.
So 40 then, like when Jake the Snake came back, he was 40 and he was like a grandfather, it looked like.
Yep. And we all were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's back. He's so old."
Right. 40. So it's 40's not the same. So Farouk, I think, kind of like helped like usher that in and move along. And I don't know, I've always had a love for this tag team and each individual guy. I mean, I was a big fan of, and not even looking back, I was a big fan of JBL's championship run then, and a lot of people weren't. Mm-hmm. But that's because he was so good at what he was doing.
Yeah, for sure. But we're talking about tag teams, not singles runs. So I'm going to give you my next one, and there's not going to be much to talk about because it's the Hardy Boys.
There's my one crossover I thought was coming.
That's right. So just to reiterate, like I had to pick them for the same reasons that you did. They were an iconic team, and I did the exact same thing as you. I was flip-flopping between them and Edge and Christian, and I was like, no, I'm not going to take both. I'm going to pick one of these two teams, and I really sat and was like, which one actually, to me, was the more iconic team of the two. And that's not taking away anything from Edge and Christian. They're fantastic. They were part of that whole movement, the TLC, the tables, ladders, chairs. Like it would have been not the same had they not been there. Totally agree with that. And obviously Edge and Christian are two of my favorite wrestlers of all time, even as singles wrestlers. But the Hardy Boys were a more iconic movement for that time period, in my opinion.
They were. I mean, and maybe a lot of that has to do with we were young, impressionable, and those were the faces then. Mm-hmm. And they kind of go hand in hand. They were both the Brood and all this stuff, but like the Hardy Boys are a little more wild, a little more extreme, like, and that was cool. Like, I would never, we think about Jeff doing all those craziness, but like when Edge took that spear off of the title, hanging from there, like that takes some balls. I would never do that.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the Hardy Boys resonated with people like us a little bit more, too, because they had that Hot Topic look that we were all doing back then with the kick pants and the silver ball necklaces and the mesh shirts, and you know what I mean? Yeah,
they were straight out of the new metal movement. And even though, like, we know Edge is a metalhead, too, and more of, like, the 80s metal, maybe because he's a little older, but he never came across like that to me, per se, until later in his career.
Yeah.
Where when we saw, in 98, 99, 2000, when we were 12, 13, 14, 15, we saw, guys like us, like just metalhead dudes, scrappy dudes, not built, not huge, doing their thing.
100%. I absolutely agree with that.
Hey everybody, this is Lauren Marie Taylor, creator and host of the Not the Final Girl podcast. Okay, so every horror fan remembers the final girl, right? The one who can outrun and outsmart the Jasons, the Michaels, the Chuckies. I think you get it. But what about the girls and, the guys who met with an untimely end? Those of us who were tortured and tripped, dragged and killed. Don't we deserve some props? As Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Sheila in Girls Night Out, I know what a drag it is to succumb to those masked and wardrobe-challenged killers. To not be the final girl. On my new podcast, I'll be chatting with other women of horror who share the same fate. Special guests include those final girls as well as the writers and directors who created our characters, only to give us an early expiration date. And if they play nice, we'll let some of those crazed killers of horror tell their side of the story. So join me, Lauren Marie Taylor, on the Not the Final Girl podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the alerts when the episodes drop. Thanks for listening. Keep your doors locked and stay out of the woods.
Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted better gut health, more energy, and an optimized immune system. I was also struggling to take in all of the calories and nutrients that I needed in a day with all of the training that I do for professional wrestling. But I'll tell you what, you want to know what this stuff is? With one scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. So why do I personally consume it? It's easy for me to take care of my body with a scoop of Athletic Greens. It benefits the lifestyle that I live, being in the gym all the time, being on the road, being at shows. It helps me feel better, and it helps me mentally feel like I'm doing my part in taking care of my health. I bring it with me everywhere I go, just throw it in my bag and take it on the road. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and contains less than 1 gram of sugar. No GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything while still tasting good. It helps you sleep better, helps your recovery, mental clarity, and alertness. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best. And the price? It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is recommended by professional athletes. For every purchase, AG1 donates to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. In 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to kids. So right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/EMERGING to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I don't want to spend too much time talking about them again, so who do you got next?
All right, I'm going to try to play the song. I don't know what it sounds like, so let's see, okay?
Yeah.
Let's see if you can get it, because I don't know. Let's see.
If you smell what the rock is cooking.
No, it doesn't change. My team is the Rock and Sock Connection, are my number 2 tag team.
That doesn't surprise me coming from you.
I thought it would surprise you because they were so friggin' awesome, hysterical, 2 of the biggest wrestlers of that generation. Just on the outskirts of that generation, though. What was that, like 2004?
Yeah, it was
probably.
It was. I don't know when they were.
No, that's not true. They were doing it in that's true. They were doing it in 2001 too, as well. They got back together in 2004. That's what I'm thinking of. They wrestled at WrestleMania 20.
Oh yeah,
against Evolution.
Yeah.
But I think that was just like a re-up because that whole thing. You know what the biggest segment in WWE history of eyeballs watching WWE history? Do you know what the biggest, most viewed segment of WWE history is on television?
Yeah, it was the Rock, This Is Your Life.
With just those 2, because that's how encapsulating those 2 were. You want to talk about an odd couple? The biggest star, the movie star looks, the 6'5", 250-pound guy, and fucking Mick Foley.
Right. They did debut in 1999. I just looked it up. And August 30th of 1999 was the Rock and Sock Connection's birth. And they were only active, for 99 and 2000, and then briefly returned in 2004.
And it's impactful, for the simple fact that you're not even arguing me.
No, I'm not.
You're not even saying. It would be hard to say because it's about the same way that you had the 2 dudes with attitudes.
Exactly.
Small time, but just super impactful. I mean, just the segments were so funny and so enthralling, and everything about it was just everything that I wanted at that time. I don't know, started playing. My phone started playing. Stop playing music. Okay. Everything was so, like, just anything you wanted. The matches were great. The hot tags to The Rock. Mick Foley gets his ass whooped. Gets the hot tag to The Rock to come in and clear house. Like, if those guys were lower... It sounds funny to say this, but it's the truth. If those guys weren't such big stars, they might have been, like, the greatest tag team of all time. But they were already big stars, just kind of thrown together for fun. They were having fun, and it worked.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why it worked, too, because they were having fun. And I think the crowd knowing that they were having fun played a big role in that, to be honest with you.
It was so fun. I thought this would be the surprise of the draft for me, I mean. But, like, yeah, well, I'm glad it's not because it's obvious. It's such a great team. I don't even think, were they champs? Did you look it up? Were they ever champs?
I don't know that they were, but I'm going to check anyways.
I don't think they were. If they were champs, then I'll make them my pick in the championship draft instead. Because I just thinking that they weren't champs. I don't think The Rock was ever tag champ, was he? Maybe
he was,
so.
He was definitely tag champ, but I don't remember. He had a few different tag team title runs, actually.
That's surprising to me. I guess I'm forgetting it because I only think of him as...
Rock and Sock Connection did win the tag team titles.
That's the only one I can think of if he ever was tag champ, would be with Mick. Unless he was with, like, D'Lo Brown or something early.
I'm going to look it up.
But I don't think he was.
He's a 5-time tag team champion.
What?
Yeah. See, I told you he wanted a bunch.
I can't even remember that.
I'm trying to find out who his other partners were, though.
This is live research on the air, folks. You think we would be prepared and do our research ahead of time? Get the fuck
out of here. The only one that keeps coming up easy to find is with Mick Foley. I'm trying to find out if we can get a list of, his... Oh, wait, The Rock. No, I can't find him. I'll have to look it up and post it on social media because I can't find who the other ones are. But anyhow...
Well, maybe our Mark fans could help us out here.
That's true. If you know who The Rock's tag team partners were when he won the tag team titles, let us know. But yeah, that was a good pick. And I will say this. We're both down to our number one right now, right?
And I think it's the other crossover.
You think so? Well, if it is... then it's the tag team that the Rock and Sock Connection beat for the tag team titles, because my number one pick is the New Age Outlaws.
Of course, and that's my number one too.
Is it really? Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely, because I knew this would be your number one team because you snaked them from me in our draft.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So that's why I figured that would be your number one. So, like, we had a big discussion on them already, but let's friggin' do it again.
Well, I gotta say... this was another tag team that I don't think they expected to work. They were both floundering in the singles division. Billy Gunn went from the Smoking Guns to Rockabilly and was just kind of doing whatever. And the roadie was floating away from Jeff Jarrett, trying to find his footing as the real Double J. And they get slapped together and the New Age Outlaws are born. And it worked and it was amazing. And they only continued to get better for as long as they teamed together.
And it's your classic huge dude, smaller guy, even though they're both big guys, but Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn's the size of Hulk Hogan. People don't even realize that.
Oh, Billy Gunn is a monster. And I don't understand. Well, maybe because in that era there was a lot of big guys, but he was a little more lean when he was in the Smoking Guns, but when he was in the Outlaws, he was just a big dude.
Yeah, he's like the size of Hulk Hogan. From what I heard from like Bruce Pritchard, is one of the reasons he could never make it on his own is he suffers from bad asthma, and that's why he's always a tag team guy.
Really? Wow.
It's something that Bruce Pritchard said. So they tried to give him a little push. Remember, he was like King of the Ring and stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah. He had a lot of singles titles too.
They tried. He couldn't really handle not being in a tag team. And so you're right. I was just listening to Road Dogg has a podcast now.
Yes, I just recently subscribed.
Surprisingly called "Oh, You Didn't Know," and it's a really good podcast because he's such a good entertainer at whatever he does. He is such a good entertainer, and he was just explaining on there like a couple weeks ago how they got together. It's exactly what you said. They were floundering. They weren't really friends either. They were just they got in a program and they had good chemistry, and they were just kind of floating around with the friggin' Honky Tonk Man in 1996 or whatever, or 97. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
At that time, I didn't even care then about the Honky Tonk Man.
Right.
So, they were just, begging, can we just be together? And at one point, they're like, fine, go be together.
I remember that they were feuding. There was like 3 matches. It was like 3 weeks in a row or something, and they just like left the ring, and the following week they were a tag team, and then sure as shit, they're feuding with LOD.
And we think of them as, DX, of course, but like they were getting big just before. Like that's why they got in DX. They were arguably one of the biggest tag teams before they officially joined DX.
100%. When they joined DX, it was a huge deal because they were already a well-established, well-oiled tag team, and they were over. So the addition of them with DX was huge. It was the night after WrestleMania 14. Shawn was gone, and Triple H was rebuilding DX, and we see X-Pac come back, and then the night ends with Road Dogg and Billy Gunn joining and beating down Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie.
Right. So, they were probably the biggest tag team at the biggest point professional wrestling ever was.
Yeah, I agree.
At that point with the Monday Night Wars, they were the tag team of 98, 99. Like that was a tag, and WCW had nothing. Like I can't even think of a WCW tag team at that time.
Honestly, I can't either.
I don't even think Harlem Heat was together. WCW did more of the put this guy with this guy kind of thing. Where, frankly, that's what the New Age Outlaws just kind of did. But even though they put themselves together, they work so well together. Such opposites, such good chemistry. Road Dogg is so entertaining. Billy Badass, right? That was just him. It was just so cool. They look like $1 million. They talk like $1 million. Never needed a manager. They brought more. Okay, so there's always a debate of which DX was better, the OG with Rick Rude, Shawn Michaels, or that second generation led by Triple H. And I think it's that second generation. It wasn't as goofy. They were just more dominant and more badass, it felt like.
Yeah, I think as much as it pains me to say it, you're right, because the first generation of DX was very, very short-lived, and it doesn't seem like it because they were such a prominent role. But when Shawn and Triple H finally, gave themselves that name of DX, it wasn't much longer until Shawn was gone. When Road Dogg and Billy and X-Pac joined up, there was a long run with them, and it was off and on, and then there was like an internal DX feud, and they would split up and get back together. But when they were all together in that initial first run, they were hilarious, but they would kick your ass.
Yeah, and if you think of the memories of the first, iteration of DX, it's like, what are the big memories of that? Wearing the Sergeant Slaughter thing with the wipers, or just the over sexual innuendos. But that second time too, I think the biggest memory in DX history is showing up at WCW. How does it get bigger than that?
It doesn't. And that is not only the biggest memory in DX history, but just wrestling history. If you talk about the Monday Night Wars, that was the biggest part of that, in my opinion. And I think that's when you really started to see that sway to WWE.
Right, and the only thing that could argue in the pre-DX history is Tyson and Austin, but Shawn Michaels didn't matter really in that.
No, I think the build-up to WrestleMania 14
the build-up
wasn't as prominent because Shawn was already hurt from the Royal Rumble. But when I think of that first, that first iconic interview they did where they, coined the name DX, that comes to mind. When Shawn was sitting in the wheelchair getting ready for his match with Ken Shamrock, and they did the fake foot, and they were twisting his foot around and around and around like he could beat the ankle lock.
Yeah, that's true.
That sticks out. So there's moments. It was just there's not as many because the second version lasted so much longer.
Right, and even the third version with just the two of them was great too. So, but we're just talking about the New Age Outlaws. They brought so much more to DX. I feel it was a better stable when they're joined, because at the point where they're joined, you got Triple H that's coming to be one of the biggest stars. You got X-Pac, which is a big mid-level star. You got the best tag team in the division, and then a dominant woman. It was a perfect stable at that time.
It really was. I remember being a kid, too, and going to a Monday Night Raw or something around that time, and I couldn't wait to get my Road Dogg shirt. It was the only thing I could think of, on the drive there, is I'm going to get that Road Dogg shirt that says Roll the Dog a Bone on the back. And I had that shirt forever. I literally wore that shirt until it fell apart. It had holes in the armpits, it was shredded at the bottom, and I still didn't want to throw it out.
Yeah, so it was easily, I think, I knew that would be our number one, and I was correct. We had the 2 crossovers of the Hardys and New Age Outlaws, and then, 8 different picks, so.
Yeah. And
6 different picks, so.
Were you surprised that the Rockers were not on my list?
Yes, but I knew Shawn would make it somewhere.
So you didn't think it would be...
I just wasn't sure.
You didn't think it would be Shawn and John Cena?
It could have been somewhere. I was leaving it up. I thought you were either going to go with the Rockers or Shawn and Triple H.
Gotcha. I mean, hey, I could have easily gone Shawn and Triple H. We would have had 2 versions of DX to talk about.
That was a great run, too. People forget about that. Like, what was that, 2006, 2007?
Yeah, when Shawn and Triple H actually came back to being DX.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was just they that's kind of when I was getting back into wrestling, too, when they were feuding with the Spirit Squad and stuff.
Yeah, that was a fun run. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, but here we go. We got breaking news. Hang on, let me get my breaking news music, okay?
All right, got it.
All right. The Rock is 5-time WWE Tag Team Champion.
Yes.
3 times with Mankind.
Okay.
1 time with The Undertaker.
That was the one.
And 1 time with friend of the show, Chris Jericho.
Ah, okay. I don't really remember the Jericho one, but I couldn't remember if it was Undertaker or Kane. I knew it was one of those.
So I don't remember the Jericho one either. I do remember the Undertaker one a little bit, but like, when was that with Jericho? That might be my favorite tag team of all time. Jesus,
I can't remember. I mean, I'm assuming it's when they were feuding with the corporation together. You know, I'll never.
Perhaps, I don't know, but
when they cut that promo on Stephanie McMahon with Rhino the Man Beast and Stephanie the Hose Beast.
That's Chris Jericho. We got to get Chris Jericho back on the pod. I mean, on the pod.
On the pod, yeah. I mean, I know he's an avid listener, so he's probably going to be bummed that we didn't put one of his tag teams in our list. But, you know, he didn't send a fruit basket this month. I can't say.
I guess I would pick Jericho and The Rock, but even though I don't remember it. Him and Kevin Owens.
I would pick Jericho and Lance Storm.
Oh, the Thrill Seekers.
Yes, from Smoky Mountain Wrestling days.
You're such a mark.
So I think this was a pretty cool podcast. I am surprised that we had 2 crossovers. I thought we'd have maybe 1.
Nope, as always, I was right.
Yeah, I thought we would both have the Outlaws. I didn't think we'd both have them at number 1.
It was an easy pick for me, honestly. I mean, I just think they're the best. Are they my absolute favorite? I don't know, maybe, but I think they're the best tag team ever. And they are one of my favorites, so why not?
Agreed. Well, hey, man, thanks for doing this last minute because I asked you yesterday.
That's very true. And we got a couple more ideas now that are coming down the pike, and we need to get a draft on, and we need to pick on Mitch LaFon at some point.
Yeah, I think we need to have Mitch and Joey back on for another draft.
Yeah, it's about time. They've gotten off scot-free. It's time to pick on them.
I got some bones to pick with Joey Licious anyways.
Yeah, that's between you guys. I would not defend you.
We'll talk about it when he's on. I won't call him out until I'm calling him out to his face.
That does not sound like Robbie.
I'm getting into my gimmick, brother. Well, thanks for doing this, man. And, hey, listeners, let us know who your favorite tag teams are. How about that?
That's right. We were always ready to tell you guys you're wrong.
Well, I mean, you're more ready for those confrontations. I just usually give everybody a thumbs up, and I'm like, yeah, you like what you like. And you're usually like, no.
Oh, that's not true. Just ask AEW fans.
Oh, boy. You're canceled.
Oh, I've been canceled. What are you talking about? My cat even got canceled.
That's true. We won't go there because then, you know, we're going to have a whole other argument on our hands. But thanks for doing this.
Old scars.
Hey, before we get off here, are you super excited to do the next 10 on our grunge list?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. It was a rough start. It was a okay second. The next list looks promising, so I'm kind of like not begrudgingly doing it, but at the same time, I'm not doing backflips.
Okay, that's fair. So, all right, listeners, then we will catch you next time. Who knows? You could get a grunge list. You could get a draft. Maybe Mitch LaFon will be here. Maybe Joey Licious will be here. Tune in and find out. So we will catch you guys next time on the All Bets Are Off podcast.
Peace.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.